Hi everybody, Rusty here for Motorsport New Zealand. We are going to catch up in the coming weeks with some of the real stars of Kiwi motor racing, and we thought we would kick off this series with a young man who has a very bright future, and he has just wrapped up a stellar season in Formula 3 from Havelock North here in New Zealand all the way to the UK. Liam Lawson, hello.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
It's great to chat with you. I know you probably have mixed emotions on it. You finished the year with a really solid result there at Mugello. What's your report card from 2020?
Yeah, I think the result, when you look at it on paper, fifth is not obviously amazing, and it doesn't show what we achieved this year. So it's a little bit frustrating for sure, and obviously I guess it's good and bad to look back on the season. It's good to learn from stuff, but also it's not good to dwell on the issues that we had, because we had quite a few. And obviously we had mechanical failures that were out of our control. But I think even with those mechanical failures, we still could have done the job this year. We just needed to get on top of a few little things that I guess we kept sort of having. So it's definitely frustrating, but it was nice to finish the year like we did.
From a stats point of view, there are wins, there are pole positions and podiums naturally, and the final race of the year at Mugello, as you rightly point out, you brained them, Liam. It was a super way to finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a really good last race. We've been struggling all year. I feel like our window was really quite small compared to a lot of the other teams, especially like Prema. You know, they were always, every weekend they had a strong car regardless. Sometimes it was slightly better than others, but their window seemed to be a lot bigger with us. Our window seemed like a good example was Silverstone. The first week, the qualifying, I qualified second, but I was on a lap that was going to put me pole by a massive margin, but I messed it up. So that was my fault. But the car was really, really good. Then the next week we raced in Silverstone again. Very, very similar conditions. The wind was slightly different. And the car was an absolute dog. Like, it was completely different to drive. So, yeah, I feel like our window this year was quite small, and that made things really, really difficult for us. But we made a change before the last race, something that we did quite early in the season, actually in the preseason test in Bahrain. Something similar to that. And it made a big difference, especially to the early part of the race. We basically... You can set up the car to obviously be really, really quick over one lap, or but in the races you want to try and make it go the distance. And what we were able to do was have good pace at the start and break the gap. But the way the tyres dropped, both axles dropped together rather than losing just the front or just the rears or something like that. The car was just dropping and staying neutral the whole race, which was really, really hard to do. And we just basically, got it right in that race.
Just to sort of delve into that point a little bit further if we can. I understand Dr. Marco was quite impressed that you've grown perhaps as a racing driver out of the car as well. Is it right to say that you took ownership? You knew on Saturday night there at Mugello you needed to make this change, and you were quite almost assertive in the way that you went about that, and it paid dividends, Liam, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I think this year it's definitely something. Obviously, it's my second year in F3, and it's my first time doing a championship twice. Obviously, apart from TRS, but that was in two different cars. So this is the first time that I've done a championship the second year in the same car. So the experience obviously helped a lot. But it is something this year that I worked a lot with my coach, and basically trying to lead the team a lot more this year, because it's really, really important. And I think it did help a lot. I don't know too much of what Dr. Marco thinks. I don't get told too much, but no, I think this year was definitely a big year in that sense for me.
It naturally leads us to 2021. What can you tell us about your plans? And I guess a lot is still probably to be decided, is it?
Yeah, it is. If I knew, I would love to tell you. I really have no idea. So at the moment, basically now the season's done, we have a few weeks of waiting to hear a little bit more, I guess. So for now, I'm just waiting, training. I'm not sure if I'll come home in the next couple of weeks. I might do. But for next year, I'm not too sure yet. Hoping to obviously step up, but I don't know what I'm going to step up into yet.
Share with everybody that's watching here a little of the backstory. I think you and Enzo were on your way maybe even to the first round, and there was some sort of issue surrounding one of the tests, maybe either an inconclusive test or a false positive or something, and it delayed your departure, didn't it?
Yeah, so what happened was on the Monday, so you have to get the test within 5 days of when you leave. Because it was the first round, we'd never done it. So we did the test on the Monday, and we were leaving on the Wednesday. So I did the test on Monday, and it was the most. They did 2 tests, which I don't normally do. So they do obviously down your throat, up both nostrils, and then they do it all again. And both tests came back inconclusive for me. And basically we were told that you had to show that you'd had your COVID test and that you were basically okay and you were negative when you got on the plane. So we realized we couldn't really fly, or we couldn't wait another day just in case it didn't come back properly. So I had to go get another COVID test. And then we decided to just get in the car and drive. So we left at probably 7:00 on Wednesday night from the UK, and we drove through to Belgium. We stopped overnight. We stayed in a hotel for 3 hours, and then we're back on the road again. And it was like an 18-hour journey, and we got there the next day in the evening on Thursday night, and found out that they didn't even check when you got on the plane, so we could have just got on completely fine.
Oh, no. Enzo's been great in your corner, hasn't he? And he's got a bit of a connection with some Kiwi racing drivers too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. It's actually how we were able to link up with Enzo. Obviously, worked really closely with Richie. Obviously, because Richie used to drive with Gravity, and when Gravity was what it was, Enzo was one of the scouts basically, and one of the coaches. So he worked with Richie. I was super excited to meet Enzo for that reason as well. But also, I just found out not actually that long ago that when I was younger, when I was just leaving go-karts to go into cars, when I was driving to do the Speed Sport Scholarship, we were driving from Auckland to Palmy, and my dad had these CDs that he'd printed of this sports psychologist, mental sort of coach. It's for me to listen to. And so we're driving down to Palmy in the middle of the night, and he's playing these CDs, and it was actually Enzo. And then I only found that out this year that I was listening to him back then. And then, we were able to link up with him when I first went to Europe. So that was pretty cool.
How does he help you? Tell me.
Well, obviously, driver coaches are something that I guess drivers have a lot more in younger categories like F4. You do see it at this level a bit. But for me, Enzo's more of a performance coach. He works a lot more around the mental side of things, the way you look at things. Like last year, for example, when I first obviously got signed with Red Bull, I felt a lot of pressure, to be perfectly honest. I was always thinking about what the other drivers, the other Red Bull guys were doing, if I was doing good enough, if what Dr. Marco was thinking and stuff like this. All things that were not helping me. And it's something that we worked on throughout the year. And to be honest, this year, I can promise you there was from basics from Red Bull side, there should have been a lot more pressure, obviously being my second year, but I didn't really feel anything. It was, I never really thought about that at all, that side of things. So the pressure wasn't so high this year. I think it was helped me to drive a lot better and think a lot better. I guess, it's more the mental side that he helps.
Now, you're at home there in the UK, you're home away from home. You've got a sim that you can use to kind of keep you occupied and have a bit of fun, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. It's really cool. I've now got one here and in New Zealand, and they're both really decent setups. So I got this one my first year when I moved to Holland, and when I was 16 a couple of years ago, and I got this, and basically I was just up till the middle of the night every single night on the simulator after that. So that was pretty cool. And it's nice. Obviously, a lot of drivers use iRacing and use the simulator stuff. So it's cool to be able to race against all of them. And it's also for my friends back home, it's a way I can talk to them every day and race against them as well.
Word on the street is you're pretty handy on the ride-on mower too. Is that a bit of an escape for you? And you're a perfectionist with the lawn. Is that true?
Yeah, it's become something that I started with lawns when I moved here, and it's a really, really nice mower. It's got like 4-wheel steering and everything. And every time I go out there and I have my headphones on, it's just like I'm just in my element, And it's almost peaceful when I'm mowing the lawns. And I'm really OCD about having my lines straight. In fact, the other week I was out there, and it started to rain, and I'd only just started the line I was on, going down the section, and it was the complete opposite direction of the garage, and it was starting to rain really, really heavy, and I was so OCD about it. I had to finish the line before I could turn around and then obviously just send it all the way back to the garage. I was absolutely drenched, but it was more important that I finished the line.
Probably sounds a bit crazy, but I want to take this a little step further, because your obsession with lawnmowers goes a fraction deeper. Tell us about, was there some sort of resto project, or what have you done? You've done up a mower.
Yeah, a couple of years ago when I was back in New Zealand, we lived in a house, quite a big section, and my parents were adamant that we did not need a ride-on mower, and this lawn would take like 3 hours with a push mower or more to push around, and obviously it was me that was pushing it around, and I was just every time it was like obviously the lawn was growing really, really fast, and I was always out there doing it, and I got sick of it basically of pushing the thing around. So I had like these little like grass go-kart things that were really, really powerful, and I just basically attached the push mower. I like got bungee cords and attached it to the back of the go-kart, and then I just literally drove around like a ride-on, and I did the lawn and driving this thing around. Obviously it was kept, obviously because it was a 4-stroke and it kept riching it up, so every couple of goes I'd have to clear it out and give it a big rev. Did the job nicely.
Love it. Tell us a bit about the New Zealand pathway. I mean, it is held in high regard by many. You are a great example. I mean, for young drivers that are perhaps watching this now, looking at you and aspiring to follow in similar footsteps, how beneficial has it been for you? And you've been through a number of categories in that pathway, haven't you?
I think that's, to be honest, one of the most important things was for me that I did all those categories. You see a lot of guys now trying to skip things and rush into a bigger car and stuff like that. And for me, I left go-karts when I was 12. I did a season of Formula First, then I did a season of Formula Ford, and then I went to Australia to do F4, and I really did pretty much every single category and progressed. We didn't rush anything. So I think that was one of the most important things. Obviously, the Speed Sport Scholarship was the initial thing that completely kickstarted the career for me. So far, it was obviously meeting Grant McDonald, and to be fair, he's literally the only reason I'm here today at all. So it is really, really important to I think do all those levels. Obviously, if you can get to TRS, it's really good that Toyota help out with the Kiwi Driver Fund for New Zealand drivers, because it's something that is extremely, obviously, it's a big step up in cost to do that championship, especially over just 5 weeks. But yeah, it's been really, really important for me, that's for sure.
TRS is something that you've really enjoyed some success in, and that's an important part of the pathway. And I guess it exposes you to another level of media interest, of professionalism, and that helps you take another step. How important was it, and how well regarded is it internationally?
Yeah, with TRS is something that I actually tried to do a year earlier than I did it the first time, and I tried desperately to try and get a dispensation. We went to the FIA. I was really wanted to just get in the car and do it. And obviously I wasn't allowed. And at the time I was absolutely gutted, and I thought, I could just get in the car and race against all these Europeans, no problem. But I am so glad that I never got that dispensation, because it meant that I went to Europe for the first time and did my season over there. But before that, I had done Formula First, Formula Fords, Formula 4 in Australia, and then the German Formula 4 season. So I'd done nearly 4 different seasons of car racing before doing it, and I was really, really glad to have done all that preparation for it, because it is definitely on another level. Obviously, I mean, my first year, my teammates, for example, I had Lucas Sauer, who was a Mercedes factory DTM driver, who went on to obviously start with Red Bull as well. And then I had obviously Marcus, who'd done 3 seasons at that point. It was his 3rd season, and he's a Ferrari Academy driver who was racing in FIA Formula 3. It brings in drivers from all sorts of different championships around the world at really, really high levels. Obviously, they had F2 drivers. Yuki last year was there. He's racing Formula 2 this year. So the competition level is massive. And the media side also, especially being a New Zealander, you get a lot more attention from that as well. So it is definitely, for me, it was really important to have done all those years before it, and not really try and rush into it was the main thing for me.
In addition to the Red Bull Junior program, who of the mentors, I guess you could say, have you kept in touch with throughout 2020, and how have they perhaps helped from a distance?
Well, Brendan's somebody that I met back in. When the first time I met him was at Hockenheim when he was doing his F1 season, and I was doing Formula 4, and we were racing the same weekend, and I was walking around the paddock with my teammates, and we were walking past a car park, and Brendan was getting out of his car, and I saw him, and I was like, I told my teammates, it's Brendan Hartley, it's Brendan, and then they were like, go and talk to him, and I was like, I can't go and talk to him. And they're like, just go and talk to him, and then I was 100% sure I wasn't going to say anything. And then randomly, I don't know what it was, but my body just decided to yell out his name. I was like, Brendan. And he turned around and I was like, oh God, now I got to go and speak to him. And so I walked up to him and he obviously had no idea who I was. And so I'm walking up and he's looking at me like, who the hell are you? Obviously then I introduced myself and then I told him what I was doing and that I was from New Zealand and the link with Kenny Smith actually, obviously, which he has as well. So this year, he's somebody I did a bit of go-karting with him at the start of the year. And I've tried to stay in contact with him as well. Obviously he's just won Le Mans again, which is really, really cool. Scott Dixon as well, just a little bit over Instagram. And then I would say the main two would probably be Nick Cassidy and Shane Van Gisbergen, the two that I speak to more frequently, I guess. Mark
Webber's got a great saying, Liam. He always says, keep boxing. So keep boxing. There's lots of positives that you've achieved in 2020, and we hope that that the short term and 2021 and beyond are even more successful for you. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you very much for having me.
There he is, Liam Lawson. And don't forget, of course, to stay up to date with the very latest in terms of local race news here in New Zealand. And of course, for content like this, catch-ups with some of the stars of New Zealand motorsport and the latest news, you can do that on the Motorsport New Zealand Facebook page. Give it a like, let your mates know, and this is the place to go. We'll be back with another catch-up real soon.